Welcome everyone to the reboot, season 2 of Pardon My News. Man, I hope I don't keep rhyming. That was awful. I'll be your host this evening, Tim Loss, along with Kevin Bennett this season. Kevin, thank you for joining me.
Hey, I am happy to be here. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm Kevin Bennett. I do comedy, writing, music. I speak my mind and get in trouble. And, I just try and tell the truth and have fun while I do it.
Well, I tell everyone at the beginning of this podcast, I look forward to burning this bridge and no longer being friends in 2 months as well, knowing my behavior. But hopefully it doesn't work out that way. We got a great show. We're going to talk about current affairs, everything that's happening in this week of news. That might be a little bit of sports, whatever. We'll see what happens. We're going to give you our full, unfair, biased, unbalanced opinion. We may not even agree, but we're going to talk and see how it goes through. You ready for our first one, man?
Let's get it.
Let's get it. We're going to go for current affairs. And a man was actually awarded $65,000 after a doctor removed his penis. He was quoted as saying they played Russian roulette with himself.
Is that how they're doing these gender reassignment surgeries? They're just throwing a bunch of names in a bucket, and whoever pulls one out is now the new civil rights champion?
It actually sounds better than what happened. Honestly,
my gosh.
I would have took a butt. He actually had, if reading into it, he had cancer that got bigger, so they had to cut it out. Well, the doctor just decided, you know what? Let's cut the whole damn thing off, and literally cut off his whole penis. So the doctor's claiming he needed to save the guy's life, and the guy's more claiming that's a little bit of excessive. You could have lifted something. Because the way he's describing it's just like Miss March. He's got all the suitcase, no handle. No handle. So he's still got the male parts except for the trunk. And
oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. So, and he just woke up. This wasn't reading. He planned to still have some, but he woke up and it was gone. So that's why he's so mad.
Here's the question. Is it better to have lived and lost than never to have? No, I don't know. I think that's something you'd want to ask somebody about, just a little bit. This is why I don't trust modern medicine. You go in there to get some help. You wake up and you're detrunkified.
Well, he is the shoe-in for maybe Woman of the Year now. I don't know how that works. Here's what.
All the trans shenanigans.
He's $65K. I asked my wife, if I lost my penis, how much do you think it's worth? And she's like, it's got to be like $1 million. And I was like, oh, babe, you make me feel good. But at least I'm thinking 6 figures at least.
He got $65K. That don't even pay off a mortgage. What?
After taxes and getting fucked by the lawyers? Oh man, his dick must have not been that big.
This is in France, right?
Yes, this is the one that happened in France. Well, that's what. Oh no, actually, Cleveland Clinic.
Listen to me. Oh my gosh. Of course, no. I'm sorry. He would have said, "I have hatred for this doctor who did not listen to me." I bet he does. Ooh.
I felt betrayed by my dentist when he pulled an extra tooth out. I can't imagine the relationship I have with a doctor when I show up and my thing is gone. And we didn't discuss it beforehand. There was no meeting. There was no diagrams, at least not to my knowledge. So that's rough.
Oh man. That's terrifying. I don't, modern medicine, there's this illusion. Just like modern technology has this illusion that it works right and we've conquered all the secrets of the universe, but they call it, the old saying goes, they call it practice for a reason. The more we know, the more we don't know. And it seems to me like the medical industry is not as altruistic as it ought to be. Maybe it was when we were younger. These days, I don't know. I don't want to be crazy, but I never hear any good. I haven't heard a story like, oh, I went in for a disease and I came out with a greater IQ. It's never any nothing like that ever happens. You always hear, I went in for an ear infection, I came out, and now I'm a woman.
I was
It's
gonna
not
I was gonna defend modern medicine and say it's a science, but when you put it that way, science is wrong. Carl Sagan ain't gonna do a Cosmos about the medicine field anytime soon if we keep doing shit like this. And when you put it out like that, I don't know a single person that doesn't have a bad story when it comes
right.
to a hospital.
I'm sure. Don't get me wrong. There's a place for medicine. I think there's great breakthroughs, but we trust it so much that the shysters can just pull rank on us with their shenanigans. I mean, they've got a PhD in shenaniganery out there. You know, they do you. Oh, hey, you got a toothache? We'll do 50 tests, and then you need to take this antibiotic and come back in a week. We got to check all these tests. Did you hear about that guy? I don't know if it was in. I think it had to be Michigan. Detroitification. This doctor was basically diagnosing everybody with cancer to pay off the new cancer treatment that he'd invested in. And he went to jail for it.
It doesn't actually put things past me because that's it. I don't know, it's an industry. And when money
Yeah.
becomes over people and it's a profit and I don't know, it sucks. It really does. Because I want to say it's a science and we're always springing forward and we're trying to get the evolution, but it's just not working. It's like we went stagnant.
What if we put it this way? What if the mad scientists have taken over the science? So it's the Sith scientists are in there right now. That's what it is. We got a Revenge of the Sith going on, top of the power grid. And that's what we had the Jedi in. We had the Jedi, but the Jedi dropped the ball. They dropped it. They dropped the ball, got a bunch of hands cut off, and now Fauci's in there cackling like the emperor. You know,
I have to say, you're kind of swaying me a little bit because I was looking at because the whole time I was like scientists, they're doing the thing, but we only hear about the scientific experiments that work, not the thousands that don't and all that. And if we're using that same progress to human people, that sucks. That means that's no reason why all of us have a bad story. We're the fucking variable in the project, I guess, or.
We're guinea pigs to him now. Before there was a Hippocratic oath, and then they said, "Oh, you mean I need to vow an oath to be hypocritical? This I can do. This I can," because it's that doctor humor, Then they signed a bad signature and gave you AIDS. That's we call that the late '90s.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry I laughed, but it was a morbid laughter because that's true. That kind of that, like with the blood, people did get blood in the late '80s, and that happened to them. And the doctor just said, "Oops, science,
Whoops."
medical science hasn't advanced that much yet." Like, God, all right.
It's still a practice for a reason, we're trying. Oh, all right. Well, I'm just trying somebody else's biological car. All right.
Well,
I'm going to the foreign specialist. All right. I'm going to the acupuncture transmission expert. All right. He's not gonna cut my tailpipe, my front tailpipe off.
Well, I was going to give my body to science, and I guess I already have. Why are we even waiting if we're already science projects before it don't even need the driver's license because we're a human petri dish? It's some of the stuff because I ain't even going to lie. At the beginning, what's worse with the vaccine? What's the major component? What was wrong with that? And how military they got to my wife because she's actually in the medical field, and it affected right at home.
Wow.
That many times. So like I could see, here's my thing about it. When you take the freedom from people, that was the biggest problem. They could have just said, "Hey, here's a vaccine. If you want to take it." And tons of people would have been way more. But when they tried to put your livelihood on this vaccine and your life or your principles, that's just not going to tolerate. We're supposed to keep politics separate from some of that stuff, but they wanted to mingle it right in have it all in one, like an island, like almost. I'm talking out of my ass here a little bit, but they wanted to make it an island, like I can't even say it. My redneck teeth are getting in the way. Basically, a whole new society way of norms. They just thought if we told you to walk in a line, you're going to do it. That's never been the way. And I don't know what they're planning.
It's never been the way. It has been the agenda. And that's the issue.
Okay.
And I don't know where we will or won't agree here, but there is an elite prerogative, and you can trace it back at least to the 1700s. There is an innate prerogative to push the idea that the government, the experts, You follow them blindly. Rockefeller, give me a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers. And so with the medical, we're dealing with a medical technocracy here that in the setup phases was not operational, but has become operational to the point where they want to make you do all these vaccinated things. I'm with you. Okay, we've got this new medical option. You can try all the benefit of science. It's going to work for you. It's up to you if you want to take it. Not if you don't take this vaccine, you're out of the military, you're out of your job, you can't come to school, you can't even go into the McDonald's. You can't come into the. Are you vaccinated? Looks like you don't get a burger, boy. Go out there with all them unvaccinated weirdos in the field.
I kind of respect some of you guys because I'll be honest, I got the first vaccine. I got the first one, but because as comics, they were threatening, I couldn't get into some venues unless there was a full year of like, well, you can't perform here unless you're vaccinated, fully masked, and I've never been vaccinated for anything. I personally don't think I needed or wanted to, and I got pushed into this for comedy, and I thought, well, I'll also be a guinea pig for my family because if it's safe on me and all that, and after the science, I'll be here. I'll be the only one in my family that has had the vaccine, and I think that's probably for best. It's personal freedom and choice. We can't say every person has their own medical history and psychology, but this one vaccine is going to work for 8 billion people in the world. I just don't see that working.
You got to at least test it. There's no way to speed up testing that requires a generation for secondary effects to manifest. And that's how it is with these things. You don't know. So the very fact that they were doing that to me was a red flag. I hope you're doing it. I've heard that if you just had one, there's a good chance you'll be all right. Your body, it's like if you took a dose of poison, your body can recover. It's the continued boosting that like eats away at your body's natural ability to protect itself is from what I've studied. Now, I'm not an expert. I'm a comedian. So just for any listeners, I'm not a doctor. But then again, that's probably an advantage in this scenario. But yeah, I think you'll probably be. I've heard anti-parasitic medications, hydroxychloroquine type stuff, and I don't know the exact ones, but I was watching some doctor talk about it on the news stuff while I was doing clickbait today. I've heard that can be helpful. Some people are saying it had to do with some sort of hydrogel. I don't know the ins and outs. All I know is you don't make something like that mandatory. You make it optional. You can offer incentives. You don't make it so people lose their jobs and stuff. And the fact that they did that, they just seized on the fear of the people. Bears every. It's like Pavlov. No, sorry, it's my speaker. It's like the CIA. It's like Pavlov conditioning that utilizes media hypnosis. I might have to turn off my Bluetooth here.
No, you're all right. If you need a little time, we'll go in there. But yeah, I get what you're saying 100%. But I agree. I got vaccinated, and I think I'm fine. But also, I also told people that it's their own freedom and choice. It's weird to me that they know the government's smarter than all of us. They got things. They know honey's going to attract more flies than vinegar. So they decided to throw vinegar in everyone's face and tell them you fucking like it. Like they're the Vince McMahon. Yeah, they were trying to Vince McMahon the United States. You don't like what you like. This is what you like. This is what you need. And I'll be honest, after the seatbelts and all this other stuff and telling us we can't drink this, that was probably the last straw of all these regulations for our public health when it's some of these is personal freedoms. But we'll stop railing the doctors because I'm sure they're going to get wind of this eventually.
Hey, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good doctors. I am into that. It's just what we're seeing is that corrupt cheese weasels a la Fauci have weaseled their way into nodes of power and influence in the medical community and used it to enforce, frankly, despotic mandates. And that sort of stuff and corruption. That's what we're talking. We're not talking about those guys who are trying to do good. I mean, there were guys in California that called this stuff out immediately and they were deplatformed off social media and they were legit doctors trying. So I'm with that. I'm just saying, I'm talking to them Sith doctors.
Yeah.
Them dirty wizards.
They got
You
me.
do
I'll
not
tell you.
remember having an immune system.
It's the deadliest disease of all time.
Yeah, the flu of the bat flu, the coronavirus, the COVID-19.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into the next story. Our next story is actually hits close to home for us. Do you guys remember that meme going around about the couple protecting their real estate from I think it was George Floyd protesters? This is
Yeah.
actually the meme that started it. They're from St. Louis. Shout out. They're only about 40 minutes away from us. But they actually went to court today and they got sued and it didn't go in their favor. Everything went against them and they lost. I believe they got still fined. I think some repercussions happened to their they were suspended from their law licenses from this. Now the bigger question is this okay? Like, is this
No,
situation okay? What do you think, Kevin?
no, this is the whole situation is cattywampus because you had people in a mob who were known nationally for setting things on fire and causing violence. I mean, there's that old gentleman who got killed who was a security guard, and this stuff's going around, and they're coming to these people's house and they're telling them, you know, it's not yours, and shouting all sorts of abuse, and the cops aren't there. What are you supposed to do? Just roll over and get stampeded by a ravaging mob with the intellectual virtuosity of a cantaloupe collectively? That's ridiculous. So what do? They don't kill anybody. They just come out and say, hey, we're going to fight back. And they're the bad guys. What that is an inversion of justice that in my mind shows clear corruption in St. Louis leadership. My dad's he lived in St. Louis as a young man. So I've been to and around St. Louis, and that just I think that's sad. I think they should have at minimum just not had anything. They should have just been left alone. That's that, and they're not even right wing. Those lawyers, as far as I understand.
I didn't get too much into it, but honestly, at this when you're since we're so close, Midwest people are more middle than anything. Like
Yeah.
each person you talk to has a little left tendencies, a little right. It's the media that wants to put you red or blue.
Oh yeah.
Now these past elections, there's clearly been favorites on each side. I'm not going to lie. We each are pulling for each person maybe more feverishly than past, but that's just part of politics. What I will say with this is society did what they should have done. They put them in a meme. We ridiculed them. Legally, I
Yeah.
don't think they did anything wrong. And also, I'll bring this back up. They walked, if it was this page, I do believe. You'll be seeing the George Floyd, what all happened to him. But the place was a private street. They lived on a private street. This wasn't a public thing. So the actual riot came into their gated community.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you right now, from a guy, hey, liberal, I protested myself. Key rule in protesting: stay on the sidewalk. Once you get off the sidewalk, that is not public property anymore. And also, if you're going to do it, make sure your city doesn't need some sort of permits if you're going to have a lot of people there. If you have the right to protest any way you see fit, in my eyes, but also be adult and responsible about it. If you
Yeah.
if you're
It's
if
one
you're
thing to
three
protest.
people with a
Yeah.
sign, whatever. But if you're bringing in hundreds of people, you're shutting down streets. Come on, man. Like, let's just,
Going to a private neighborhood, a gated community,
yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Well, I'll be honest, this is ridiculous. And that's why we made it
Yeah.
a meme. Look, that ain't good. Look how she's holding that gun. That's why society
It's like a
did
bad. It's like a some sort of Chinese knockoff of a James Bond movie or something. Is what it looks like. Looks like
Yeah.
Martha's
Yeah, that's it looks like Martha's Vineyard. But that's what I was like. Sometimes I think this is what I'll speak. I'm left leaning guy. Sometimes I think we go out for too much blood. Like in this cancellation thing, we don't want an apology. We want you to stop existing, stop working, stop living, stop listening, stop understanding. these guys, we could have easily just kept making their memes. We didn't have to ruin their life and take their licenses away, like, or anything like that. They didn't do it. And as far as I read, and I could be wrong, and if we are, that's the point. It's part of our news. Don't take this with a grain of salt.
Well,
This was their
it's not
property.
illegal. It's not illegal to be cringe. It's not
Yeah.
illegal to be that. I mean, that's what they're really trying to do. And what's ironic is that they're becoming the cringe. They've become the thing they thought they sought to destroy. Anakin.
Dear, well, we do enough. We didn't have to do all this. Now it just seems, sometimes I think we get the left gives ammo to the right so quickly. Like we just want, like, society. Nothing happened. A protest still got to protest. These guys. I'll be honest, right? I live in Southern Illinois. This minus the polo shirt. That ain't a big deal. Standing in the front yard. Like, dude, that's a dude just showing off his new gun to me. Hey, I got a new gun. Hey, looks pretty cool. Like, it's not a big deal. Like,
Right.
so I think when they blew it out of proportion and started making it personal was a big deal. Like, I don't know.
They became a sacred cow, a sort of cause celeb to shut down. And that's what's been happening is across the country, these groups are finding these opportunities. And it's synthetic. And this is my perspective on it. It's synthetic. And what they do is they find these opportunities and use them as a sort of excuse to pull some shenanigans. That's basically what they're doing. And look at that photo. That photo, the PR on it, a couple of white people looking like knockoff old James Bond, and they're both chubby to boot. And look at them. They got the khaki and the polo and the blonde hair, and he's got those thin little glasses, not the thick ones that the liberals wear. He's got the thin ones. You know, it was perfect. It was perfect.
He was just at home chilling and probably just put on his slippers. This is his chill day. I just got done golfing. Martha made some potato salad. We're having a good Sunday. Oh no, there's a protest. But here's what they look like when they clean up. I'll tell you that right now. So you're right on there. The media took the worst photo they could and ran with it. These guys are lawyers. They have different public photos. We like this one. We like, and we made it. And I thought that was enough. Society sometimes making memes and joking and is all we need. That could have brought a more discussion about the topics instead of drawing lines. I'm tired of people drawing lines because nothing ever changes. We just keep going into our echo chambers. Like,
I think if there's a silver lining at all, that couple might have a different, because from what I read about them, they actually had been like they donated to the DNC locally. I think if anything at all, it'll show that group, that couple, that, hey, maybe these aren't the best people to get behind, because that was ridiculous and it was all political. Now, I'm kind of opposed to the swamp too. I'm sure we're going to get to Kevin, their new Contra game cover. I'm sure we're going to get to Kevin McCarthy soon enough, and he's a cheese weasel, and I don't think he represents the values of the party. But what we're seeing with this whole political game, they synthetically emphasize things for political brownie points, and it has nothing to do with the will or the well-being of the people. That's been the whole last 3 years, and regardless of, I think, whether anybody's on the left or right, we need to be against that. We need people who we elect to represent us.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Just final note, they are going to appeal, so
that's good.
We'll reach on to this. Maybe we'll have a update to them. So we'll go to our next story, and this is just a whole thing. Yeah, we're getting into it. A drag show, a protest, and a line of guns. How a battle of one issue is tearing America apart. And this is part of the article. If you're interested, please, I'll leave a link after the show's over to all our articles in the comments below. This is kind of what the beginning synopsis, but I'm going to simplify it for you. It's basically a drag show that's coming to a major town in Texas. Not a big deal, except for one thing: all ages welcome. And that seems to be the main issue that's tearing America apart on this one, even locally. Southern Illinois, for me, I don't know about Kevin where he's from, but Southern Illinois locally, we've had drag shows get canceled over this as well. I will give you my thoughts, but I'll give you my thoughts right off the bat. How about that?
Yeah.
Stand off there. I don't have a problem with drag shows, and I think all ages welcome in the right environment can work. Maybe this is a weird thing because as comedy, even when you tell comics PG or PG-13, like stuff like that, it's different than the set. It's a different art form entirely. And after watching RuPaul and stuff like this, I've never seen an all ages show that I would think would be all right for my child. But I like the freedom of deciding that. Do I think it's a big issue? Yeah, I think it is because we need to talk about this stuff. We need to figure it out. Um, I do I think do I don't think that outland how outspoken people are getting and shutting these things out is wrong for no me. I think they should be heard for it, especially when it comes to children and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, I guess that's the only thing. Here's my if a town doesn't want you to perform, I feel like they have a right to do that. I guess that's the way they come in there. There's plenty other towns that will. You can't change everyone and all this. You can't battle it. I honestly think entertainment like that is adult and should be experienced in adult format or with people that are like that. I don't consider it like a movie or TV show in that aspect. I think it's a different type of art. Now, I may be stupid and don't know, but I just don't see story time with a drag artist being entertaining for a child or informative or something you'd be wanting to do. That makes sense. So, like, here, my main issue is, as you said before, I think it's overblown because it's not. I don't think there's that many kids that want to go to a drag show. So, saying all ages welcome just seems like another adult trying to force entertainment on a child, and they don't like it. We're not cool. If I like anything, my son doesn't fucking like it. So why would I bring him to that and waste it? Like we're going to connect? No, connect with them what they like. I guess that's the best way to
I think
describe
you've hit the nail on the head there. I mean, here's a way to look at it. Burlesque. Could you have an all ages burlesque show? No. I mean, you couldn't, even though that's not full stripping. I mean, if you advertise that, and that's not going on. That's not something that's being pushed on elementary schoolers anywhere, and hasn't ever been. Why? If drag is so innocent and it's such a natural expression of this, that, or the other thing, why now does it have to be pushed? Oh, because you need to get them while they're young, because you need to groom them. That's the issue I have with it. And
can
you know,
see.
if you look at a child. A child will make decisions, but you can't trust them to be responsible for their decisions in the same way as an adult. And so when adults bring children to drag shows, really that's an adult making a decision for the child. That's a big problem right there. I think the community's right. Now I don't like drag shows myself. I do comedy, and there's been drag queens on comedy shows. That's just something that's going to happen. But in an adult show, it's a different story. You want to have a drag show at a bar? Okay, whatever. I won't go, but go knock yourselves out, put on your feather boa and sing that Cher song you like so much while you're gyrating your square man hips in that funky little tutu. Go ahead. I'm not going to be there, but neither are any children. The difficulty is there is a specific agenda aimed at the children. And that's why there's this issue in the country. It's not that it's happening. It's always happened. I mean, we've had the Rocky Horror Picture Show existed before either of us were born. All right. I'm pretty sure. I think it was a 70s joint and we're from the 80s. So it's not an issue that it exists. It's an issue that now there's an emphasis pushing it on kids. Personally, I don't like it. But if you do your thing legally and leave minors out of it, fine. I won't go. You bring them in. You push books in the schools. You put these books in the libraries that teach kids how to put beads in their butt and electrocute their nipples. I mean, okay, I'm serious. Sex Plus that one's just pushing all kinds of sex of all kinds heterosexual, drag, whatever. That shouldn't be aimed at teenagers. Put it in the adult section. I won't check it out, but teens probably aren't going to look for it. They're not going to look for it till they have some sex hang-ups as an adult. But no, they're putting it in kids sections of libraries and schools. Even Blue's Clues has a drag parade. What are you putting? I mean, the Teletubbies were too gay, in my opinion. And by today's standards, they would be bastions of crusading for right causes. And they're still funky and running around in purses. So, no, there's something funky in the jungle here. And I think it's good that communities are standing up to it.
Well,
I think it needs to happen. But that's my opinion.
no, there ain't nothing. That's what we fucking do here. That's what I like about it. I think there could be a better way. Now, I'm not going to take the hard, firm stance. I have no problem with drag shows. I don't think they're indoctrinating society at all. But here's the thing: I, as a parent, am not going to tell someone else how to raise their kid. So if they're in their home and they don't want to see their child do it, or they don't want to have this here, that's your fucking right, dude. I can't, like, I'm not even know as a parent how to do it all. What I think is there's got to be a better way than this, than forcing it, forcing a show, forcing this. Growing up, there was many people I knew that were gay or various things. There's got to be a better outlet than this. This seems almost antagonistic.
Well, you
Like
know what it is? It's what's the word the evangelicals use? Proselytizing. We've been taught to think of sexual preferences as genetically fundamental. Hey, Norby, genetically inherent is what we've been taught to think of them as. But Anne Hesh is not a scientific miracle because she quit eating a box lunch and turned back to the Oscar Mayer wiener. Okay, she's not a scientific aberration because she quit being homosexual. People who have human sexuality is self-determinate. That's the issue. So I talked earlier about Pavlov dogs and hypnotism. You can be taught to drool at the sight of food as a dog if you're given food whenever that bell rings, and then you take away the food and the bell, you still drool. The same thing can be done with arousal. And that's what's being done to us, and that's what these drag shows are about. They're about confusing the desire and lust impetus from a very young age. And what that does ultimately is that confuses it as the child matures. That's the problem. They're not trying to cater to those in the society that are a minority and aren't getting the help they need or are being recognized. They're actually actively changing the impulse of younger generations for an agenda purpose. And there's a gay manifesto where it says that. And in 2021, that song came out, We're Coming for Your Children, that song. And they said, oh, it was satire after there was a backlash. There had to be a backlash first. So, and they said that about the gay manifesto after there was a backlash. The truth is there is a very real agenda here. Now, if we're really helping the people who are at the fringes of society, then there's no agenda to proselytize. So facilities to aid that situation would be separate. They wouldn't be pushed on children. They would. So what we're dealing with is an agenda, and that's the problem. If you can pull out the agenda, maybe there's an argument to be made for something. But while there's an agenda, it's impossible.
I'll disagree with you on that, but that's what makes the show great on that. I will counter with because I'm not going to argue with anything. You make some valid points. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. Just my idea is I don't necessarily. I'm looking at it as if a kid's confused, they might be helping them more than the detriment. But I can also see how this situation, drag shows, being infamous with how where they're performed at bars and being adult entertainment, is not a great way. Is there a different way to maybe help these kids out that isn't a drag show or something like that? That's my thing. I think coming in, adults coming in saying, we're doing a drag show, all ages are welcome. And then the other adults are saying it. If there is a confused kid there, they're getting ignored. It's not really because, as you said, and so like, is there a different? Could we invest more in, I don't know, counseling in schools or stuff like that, or is there a helpline we could talk that
Well,
needs to be more
we've got a
formative.
historical precedent. We do have a historical precedent of not pushing sex on minors. And when you don't push sex on minors, these discussions happen within the family unit, within the home. And I think that's probably better for society. I don't think it's perfect. We have this thing in the modern world. I think it's postmodernist. We think we've conquered the world, and with enough study and research and money, we can make anything we want happen. But it doesn't matter how much money you've got. 2 + 2 always equals 4. Okay. And if you got a meat and 2 veg, then I don't care if you got $4 million, you can't turn that thing into a box. And they're telling people you can. That's a problem. Anyway, point being, there's no reason to push this stuff on kids at all. We don't need it in the we don't. That can be left to the family. It's better left to the family. Like you said, you don't want somebody to educate your kids in lieu of you. Well, the state is now saying that they have to do that. I mean, they're pushing it. That's a problem. I say just get it all the way out. Let the parents handle it how the parents would handle it. We've got more of a. Go ahead.
Well, I'll actually throw something in there, and because I'm more thinking this is blah blah blah, but I think them throwing all ages welcome. Why?
Yeah.
I do comedy shows at bars. I don't say all ages welcome, and I still get people messaging me. Can my 13-year-old come see you tell dick jokes? Yo, that's on you, man. And the bar and whatever laws your city has. Like, I don't know. Like, I'll do the research. But if they just came in as a drag show and left it free, I think that's again like the vaccine. You leave more honey open, and you're going to get more people than you're just. It seems to me that all ages welcome is a target for publicity, good or bad, and that sucks because once you start doing that, like you said, it's hard not to think you're trying to sell some sort of agenda, product, or your show, which they're obviously trying to fill it out. And I was thinking maybe there's different ways they could help out. If you're there's got to be a different way. I'm not smart enough to tell you and all this, but as just producing shows, I don't go into the Bible Belt saying, telling all my best Jesus jokes this Friday at the Bible Thumping Center. Come on down, community. All ages welcome. For my, I'm going to be talking about debauchery, elbow deep. That's what we're doing. Like, no, that's not, because I'm just going to, it just seems counterproductive in about every way, shape, or form. And
100%.
It's
not, like you said, antagonistic. There's something going on here that is not as it is represented. Just answers David Bowie's Ghost to Ground Control. Just answer David. I'm trying to. It keeps coming through my speaker there. It's a Bluetooth speaker that identifies as a NASA conduit, and I can hear David Bowie out there in space. Side note, funny story. My aunt passed away, and it was sad for me.
Hold on. Sorry. Got me on that. Hey, funny story. Aunt dies, all right?
Well, it's a true story. It was sad, but she passes away, and she was the same age as David Bowie. And I said, there he was calling from the netherrealm. I said, God, she was the same age as David. Now they're celebrating his birthday on the radio. Why did she have to go and he got to live? And like 2 days later, David Bowie died. So I kid you not. I was just, you can look up when David Bowie died. My aunt died like 2 or 3 days earlier. So I don't know. Did I kill David Bowie? I hope not, but that could be, he could be in there. Whoever, Michael, he could be in there. That's my point.
That's it. It's frequency. That's what it is. It's frequency 3, David Bowie edition. He's talking to you through ground control. I like this. That could be on Tubi right now. Have you seen the movies on Tubi? We'll probably put this podcast up there. It'll be fine.
South Korean movies, dude, are the bomb. Have you been watching South Korean movies? Oh my gosh. They've got one. It's called The Divine Fury. Listen, it's about a mixed martial artist exorcist. It's amazing. He's an exorcist, but he also kicks ass. It's great. And it's like, it's actually pretty decent theologically too, which is the craziest part, because the South Koreans, they got split down the middle after that first proxy war of the Cold War with the DMZ and the North Korea and South Korea. So the South Koreans are all like Catholic Baptists, and I do mean Catholic Baptists. It's like somebody mixed Catholicism and baptism. And then the North Koreans are they just worship the Kims, and it's hilarious. It's not hilarious. It's the cinema, dude. Check out some South Korean movies. There's a guy named Ma Dong-suk, and he goes by Don Lee in the U.S. because I'm dead serious. He was in the Eternals. He goes by Don Lee in the U.S. because he was in Montana as Ma Dong-suk. And so whenever they call this name, what's the teacher going to say? Sok Ma Dong? And so he said, no, all right, I'm going to go by Lee.
That works.
But dude, check it. Great stuff. Great stuff.
I have to. Was it Christian Baptist? Does that mean they dipped the wafer, like the body of Christ, in a little bit of gravy first before they hand it to you? Is like,
oh yeah, then they go and hang out with some snakes. Make sure nobody gets bit. No, yeah, but for real, it's like Orthodoxy is sort of like Russian Catholicism, and it's sort of Catholicism light. It's like another step off from that, because you'll listen to their stuff and you're like, oh, okay, I recognize that. That's just basic Christianity. And then there's some weird Catholic Asian thing, and then an arm monster comes out of a devil well for the exorcist to beat up. And I'm sitting here thinking, I haven't seen that in Catholicism or Baptist theology. I don't know where the arm monsters is coming. This is in the Divine Fury. Great movie. You gotta. It's a good.
I wrote it down, dude.
It's a good movie though.
All right.
I mean, it's not for me, but just I've got some people listening that are going to be on the right side of the fence, and I don't want to be too hardcore, ladies and gentlemen. This is an adult presentation. If you're on that side of things, and I'm getting to, because I got some church ladies that follow me, but anyway, for them,
once you go that deep in Tubi, it's getting weird. You're going to have to. Oh, man. You have to clear the whole Roku search out, get in a whole new TV, because it gets a little hairy. You're like, oh my, we're deep in it now. This is some. I found some, because I love horror movies, and then I found like franchises, like they've made like 9 Bad Bins, and they shouldn't even make 10 of them, like, because I'm just like,
it was not bad enough for 9 sequels.
It's some dude that set up cameras in his house, protection wise for like home surveillance, and cuts a movie with it. He's done 9 of them, and it's like the Neil Breen of horror. This guy's amazing. We'll get back to some of the news, but this is good time. Also, if you like what we're talking about, have some comments we've been throwing in there, please comment, like, and share. We love that shit. We're going to talk.
My mom saw some of that Neil Breen stuff because I was watching it one year over Christmas, and she was watching it. She's like, what in the hell is going on here? And I was like, hey, Mom, listen to my music, because I made some music, and she listened to it. And I said, hey, Mom, is my music to normal music like Neil Breen's movies to normal movies? She's like, yeah, it is. And I've been sad ever since. Not really. I still like music, Mom, if you're watching. But anyway.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, man. I was just trying. I was like, I had a premonition. Wait a minute. Maybe that's the reason people don't listen to my music. Maybe I'm just ideological Neil Breen. To have that theory confirmed by my own kin. I'm glad I do comedy. What's up, Live Laugh Louise?
What's up, man? This is a deep cut if you know internet history. Someone called me the Wings of Redemption of comedy. And I was like, oh, and then I looked at him. I was like, ouch. So I still haven't been able to hold my head up high. I was like, I still hear it in the back of my head. Do better. Don't full freak out and break your control. But yeah, I feel you on a different level, maybe a different Call of Duty level. Shout out to Live Last Lewis. I appreciate you coming in. We're going to be talking about the next headline.
All right. Can you read this for a second? I drank all that water, and apparently I've got a 35-year-old bladder the size of a dime.
No, cool. You go ahead, and I'll take care of it.
I'll listen. I'll be right back.
No problem. Hey, guys. I hope you're enjoying the stream here. If you do, give us a like. Give us a share. Tell us where you're at. You're from Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. I do appreciate season 2. We're doing a whole bunch of different news things. If you want us to talk about something, please put it in the comments below. Hey, you want to see me live? That can happen. You can see me live perform stand-up comedy with my comedy troupe, the Good Old Boys of Comedy, tomorrow in Springfield, Missouri at the Kiss Bar and Grill. Show starts at 8. Tickets are only $5. Let me see if I could yeah, a photo. I'll throw you a photo up there, but we'll talk about some stuff. Man, it's so hard to get a photo now. We'll promote this show. I like promoting this show. My big final show will be February 3rd in Salem, Illinois. If you're into that. He's saying porn up here. I know we're streaming live there. Deep action. Get it? Thank you guys. Hello from Facebook. We got a little bit of everyone there. Let me bring up this one here. Oh man, we got the Good Old Boys of Comedy. They're coming to Penfield, Illinois. The Last Call. You can see headliner Josh Reynolds, special guest Nathan Foltz, featuring Giles Mann and hosted by Live Laugh Lewis. This is a great show. They're going to be serving prime rib as well. Damn, get that. Bring a whole get a whole table. Tickets are extremely limited. Check that out. That's Penfield, Illinois. The Last Call. Tickets went on sale today.
Kill it. Kill it.
Hey. You didn't have to give. You just had to say I had to go pee. I was like promo time. I could shill a whole bunch of shit. Like there was a hidden agenda about this podcast too. You could tell I'm a leftist.
That was good. I came back. I was like, oh man, he used that time well. He covered that dead air. He covered it. I love it.
I covered it. And we're getting right back into the nitty gritty. Missouri is going to be the first person to execute a transgender inmate.
Now, I think they already did it, didn't they?
I think they did. She didn't get a repeal. So yeah, it did happen. So they did. They were the first, which is at this point in history, I think we're getting enough firsts. I don't think this line should say rapist murderer was put to death, because that's exactly what it is. Like I don't think anyone cares what type of sex this person's getting. Because we'll go into it. At first I was like, wow, this has got to be ridiculous. But before she was a transition, she was actually a normal dude at this point before her transition. She was dating a girl. Things got a little crazy. So he decided, I'm going to stalk her, throw a knife into her door, and then escalate it by kidnapping her, doing the hard R, and murdering her. So it's very justified he got a capital offense here. Whether you like it or not, the system allowed it, and he fell under the things. Well, he decided through mental abuse or whatever growing up, he was actually a woman, and through his hard troubles, he should be able to get out of being put to execution. I know so the old want to say, but it just seems it's a lot of words for this bad person did bad stuff and it's bitching about it. What do you think, Kevin?
It's the old you wouldn't hit a man with glasses defense. That's what it is, except it's oh hey Mama Lax. It's that defense, but instead you're chopping off your Johnson. The dude is clearly, I mean, it's all, this is like a plot to a dirty comedy is what it is. It's like old Norm's going to be Norma and get away with it. You know, it's a caper. I can't believe anybody takes him seriously. He's like Rachel Dolezal. And a lot of this stuff is like that, unfortunately.
Well, how do you get the berets? Those are pretty nice berets. I thought that would be, hey, you get little liberties when you're getting put to death.
Painful.
Jesus.
Oh man.
Like she's on death row and she's got makeup, a stylist. Looks like someone. This is crazy. I'll tell you what was even crazier. Before it actually happened here locally, someone transitioned and she was a she, but before was a male. Still had her male parts though, and went to a women's prison and impregnated 3 girls there. So
Yeah, it's weird how that works out, isn't it?
yeah,
It's a thinker. It's like miraculous, How are these women impregnating? I can't get my head around it. I just can't do it.
I don't know
That's
how they're
because
going to get child support. There's no father involved. They can't take them to court. Like they're both. You're just screwed. You kind of. I guess that might be the
they're
master
both
thing.
going to get 70 cents on the dollar for the rest of their life.
Oh man.
Oh,
Give it up for Mike. He's commented, throwing out some bangers out there. But
oh man,
it's hard. It's easy to feel sad when you see this line, especially if you're like me. But when you read, it doesn't matter transgender or not. This was a pretty bad person who did bad stuff to a person, wiped a person off the face of the earth in like the worst way possible. And
Well,
I'm not going to give him forgiveness. I'm sorry.
here's something really even sadder. I just saw that picture and it made me realize, I looked at that picture. If I didn't know the headline, I'd just think, oh, that's an ugly chick. And here's the sad part about it. Now, because all these trannies, there's all these ugly chicks and guys are like, oh, it's probably a dude. I mean, what did these girls ever do? They don't deserve it.
It's ruining dating in Montana. What can we do?
Montana, where the men are men and so are the women. We call that Bozeman. That's for real though. No, that's a main point, but it's kind of true actually though, because part of the whole Pavlovian conditioning thing, curls, eyeliner, lipstick, a shape. Before this trans movement got as big as it did, you would routinely see some guys with some gals, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense because you know what I mean. But now what happens? I mean, Wolf, she might not even be able. The guy who would have normally done that, he'd be like, well, I don't need a lady with a bigger Johnson than mine. I don't need that in my life. Not into that. So, but that, I mean, it is. And here's the other thing that's freaky about this. So not all people who are dealing with this, who have gender dimorphism or gender dysphoria, not all of these folks are going to go and rape and kill somebody. But there is significant crossover with cultish psychopathy that involves gender bending shenanigans and results in a lot of abuses. There's a reason Alfred Hitchcock made the movie Psycho about Norman Bates, who pulled that shenanigans. It's because that, as a trope all the way back then, was known. When you look at Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf in grandma's clothing, that was a way of telling the kids about this kind of stuff without telling the kids about this kind of stuff. And it's the same when you talk about horror stories about like Dracula and the elites being the type that suck your blood out. Well, we see that there are some elite rituals that have to do with cultic shenanigans where that happens. So some of these fairy tales were just nice ways of letting the kids in on the scoop without messing their minds up. So what we're seeing now with all these guys that are like, oh, I'm a woman, so send me to women's prison, or I'll rape some women into having some babies, or oh, I didn't know what I was doing, I was a woman and it made me violent, that's why I raped and murdered that girl. Let me live, please. I'm a good person. He says that in the article. That sort of stuff, I think, and I'll stop rambling after this.
No, you're fine.
I think a lot more of that is people who in their youth were mutilated for a decision they didn't really understand, grow up and realize, oh, my mom had she had Munchausen by proxy syndrome, and I snipped off my meat and two veg. Well, now I'm going to wear some lady's head as a skin. I think we're going to see more of that shenanigans. Anyway.
My rebuttal is Norman Bates' drag is so subpar, though. That bitch couldn't slay a runway to save his fucking ass. That's why he probably killed his mama, because his mama knew how to work it, motherfucker. Like, I disagree. I don't think there's really a big agenda or any of this. I think there's with just like the spectrum with Asperger's and how that went. I think with the opening of gender identity, there's been more acceptance to it. I think the problem they have is they want gender identity to be associated with actual scientific biological gender. And for older people, it's hard for us to wrap around and get to. I even asked my son about it.
Some of these guys know how to wrap under, though,
Come on. I'm supposed to be the other side of this. All right, we'll
Sorry,
reach around that
it was
topic.
dangling there. I couldn't help it. It was, it was a dangling fruit. All right.
No, it was great. It was great. Yeah, I just I understand what you're saying and going there. I just think this headline actually leads to that thinking and hurts them because what you're saying is 100% correct if you read this headline and all that other stuff. I just don't think it's that agenda I've met or to do that. I think it sucks that people use that as one. I guess that's what.
Let me say, I'd rather you I'd rather be wrong and a conspiracy theorist on this. I would. It's the thing is, you know how the hole goes. So we're gonna get down that rabbit hole. I'm telling you. And
Well, no, eventually that's the thing. That's why I wanted to do it because I knew we were.
yeah.
Ultimately, we are going to disagree on stuff, but I
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to also show that's okay. People
Yeah.
disagree. This guy's still cool. We're still cool, and we're trying to talk
Yeah.
it out. Like I don't think everything he thinks right. What he just said, I disagree with it. But also, I like to talk and see where maybe we can relate on some things, and that's what's the whole
Oh
point.
yeah.
And we have. This is a bad person. It didn't matter anything else. It was bad,
Right.
and it sucks they use that as an adjective. Um, and that's how that goes. Whew, do we feel good? A breath for you 5 viewers out there. Some of the heavy stuff's gone. We had to get it off. We had to show us who we are, where we're at. Yeah,
Not
breathe.
at
It's
all.
okay. We're still friends. It's all right. We're doing better than most. So that's why we're
Hey,
going to go into
can
art and
you still hear
culture.
me? I had to kill the Bluetooth. Major Tom ground controlled my speaker into oblivion.
Oh, what do you need? I'm sorry.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're perfect.
Oh, good. I turned off the Bluetooth speaker. It was being a jerk.
Oh, dude, you're doing great. Actually, everything's going great right here. It's been a great show so far. We're going to go into art and culture now. This is actually great for comics. A man was given the death penalty after footage of him being roasted in jail by Comedy Central's Jeff Ross was used in his sentencing. This is true. Jeff Ross, if you're in comedy, you know Jeff Ross. He's the roast master general.
Yeah.
Well, now a Texas man is facing the death penalty and saying the Comedy Central roast conducted at his jail unfairly influenced his sentencing. So he goes in and apparently Jeff Ross roasts this guy. The show was later, it was live at the county jail. He was going in on this guy and he said some stuff like, this dude's a really scary dude, like, and real mad, and then called him Slim Sushi. Really, really just went off on him and said how bad, but the guy wasn't responsive, just looked mean the whole time. And because of this and various other things, they're going to try to give him the death penalty.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like he never made it to final cut.
What?
So it was just in the back room footage in the back. So they actually had to get Jeff Ross to come submit the footage. And I think he may have had to testify as well.
Talk about lawyers scraping the bottom of the barrel. I hope the guy's guilty, and I hope actually I'd rather he not be guilty. But if he's not guilty, that's horrible. Because if he's not guilty and they scrape the bottom of the barrel that hard, that's the scary thing about our legal system. It's the best legal system money can buy.
Yeah, they're all just using it as a character assassination. Which when I first read it, I was naive. I just thought he roasted some guy in the audience, and then that was evidence later, like, oh, he murdered his person. But no, he went to jail and just said, look at this creepy guy in jail being super mean. And I guess he got a little aggressive too. So they're showing that as precedent that the dude might just be like.
Well, I don't hold the roastmaster general responsible for that. Having been, we've done shows. You get hecklers. You're in the moment. You're not trying to do anything but keep the momentum of the comedy going. That's it. So I don't think Jeff Ross was like, oh, I'm going to get this guy killed.
No, and that's what his defense was actually. The attorney was saying. I'll bring it up there again. It's to maximize the video's commercial value as entertainment. It's just entertainment. The dude was literally ripping on him to get jokes, and that's why the guy was like, and no one likes to be joked on. So if the guy looked miffed, whatever. But yeah, they're trying to say like he's a mean dude for it, and I'll have to say, just from watching all 8 seasons of The Practice, that's a shitty lawyer who's grasping at every straw he's got. He's like, yeah, he looks evil and scary. Well, that's not.
Even the comedian said he looks like the devil, Bobby Boucher.
Right. Well, Jeffrey Ross said it. Oh, well, I'll hear this evidence.
That's nuts.
Man, you could tell it wasn't even great slams either, because it didn't even make the cutting room floor. Jeff Ross,
even a good burn.
It wasn't even the good shit. So, and he's, you know what? That's even hurts more. Going to death for a subpar heckler joke. I didn't even make the fucking DVD.
Nobody even laughed. I can't even say that at least it was a good joke. Now I got to be electrocuted. No respect. He's an Asian Rodney Dangerfield. He's Slim Sushi. Oh, man.
His last words are going to be, fuck Slim Sushi.
Oh, man.
That's fucked up.
Well, you know what's scary about that? In Canada, they fined a comedian thousands of dollars for a joke. Mark Meacham, you've probably seen him. He's Count Dankula. He did the Nazi pug thing.
Yeah.
He got fined. He went to jail for, I think, just a couple days. But, I mean, they threw him in the clink. This is the kind of thing that some other crap lawyer is going to use as a precedent to inhibit what comedians can say. I mean, there's already stuff like that out there. They're just social controls right now. I just hope that doesn't.
You blew my mind a little bit there, because that would be precedent. It'd be precedent that means, if we're going to go on logic and how you can civil sue, if I heckled some guy in the crowd and he was saying he was mentally not stable at the time and he went home and killed someone, I could be like a bar intoxicating that guy. I might be held liable for having that person dead in civil court. There goes, like, just by using that, and that kind of blew my mind, because that's not we're 2 court cases away from that happening, literally. Yeah. And one of them's a civil court case, which is...
This is why I live in South Dakota.
Yeah.
They're behind the 8 ball on its stuff. It's coming, but I got a decade yet.
Dear Lord.
What's going on? Did you hear about that guy? Okay. He's got twin boys. His wife wants one of them to be a girl. He says no. The wife, they get a divorce over this, and now she's gone to California. That's a sanctuary state, and they won't let him visit. So if he's not there in a year, he loses parental rights, and she transitions the kid. And the kid's expressed that he doesn't want to do it. I mean, we're in a kangaroo court system. That's scary. That's scary.
Well, it needs to. Here's what we need to do on the left to silence both. We need to be for that kid as well. We need to be standing up for his rights, not wanting to transition, because he's just as scared as the other person. So if that situation is 100% true, why are we fighting for the ones that are scared and fighting for the ones that we should be fighting for all? And if they did that, that'd make a lot of things better instead of what seems like that.
Panopticonic technocracy.
We can't use logic and shit. So, but no, Jeff fucking Ross roasted someone. They're trying to use it. And it bites me in the ass, because I always say cancel culture isn't real. And then the fucking next article I click on, they're trying to use a comic's word as like a fucking death sentence to some guy. It's insane. It's insane. And man, it's just crazy. George Carlin was right. They were all right, and painfully right. And it gets suckier and suckier. But
oh man,
let's talk about something a little bit more lighthearted, entertainment. Avatar, The Way of the Water, crossed $1 billion, and it's only halfway to breaking even. Yes, that's right. I'd be sad too as an Avatar.
Well, I think where all the budget went, go back to that picture. Look at those dreadlocks. Photorealistic. $1 billion.
Now, is that cultural appropriation? I've never seen a blue man have to wear dreads. I think they're doing something. I don't know.
The blue man group's always bought. What the hell?
Right.
Crazy.
That's ridiculous. I'll be honest, I never watched the first one, but I did watch Pocahontas, so I think I got the good gist of it. The second one, I'll be honest with you too, not going to watch it.
Oh, I think Free Willy?
I have seen Free Willy.
Same thing, just no Michael Jackson song at the beginning.
So the best part's gone?
Hold me like a river, unfold me.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm not going. What I think is ridiculous is someone gave him $2 billion to make this fucking water self-indulgent jerk off fest, and it's not going to make its money back.
No,
Like, there's no way.
unless it
And
does.
there's still 2 more movies to come out.
Yeah, you know what? I heard too. They shot the sequel back to back with this one, so it's like a Matrix Reloaded Revolution situation.
Well, that worked out so well for them. I remember going to the movies both times. Like, what the fuck is this? Like,
oh man, oh man.
oh, that's a blast from the past. Yeah.
Is James Cameron gonna transition after Avatar 2 fails? Is he gonna be Maury and Andy Wachowski? Well, I don't even know what their new names are. I'm too old.
Well, that's what's crazy. You know, we'll get into. Hey, what's up? How's everyone doing? Yeah, both of them transitioned. The Family Guy joke. They're both ladies now. They're both ladies now. Is a real thing. They both transitioned.
Oh, Mike. Oh, that was a good callback to South Park. Well played.
Give it up for Mike, dude.
Yeah, that was so weird. Like, huh? So they really their seminal work was Bound, is what I'm hearing here. The one about the Jennifer Tilly being a lesbian or something.
Yeah. I don't know. This is all just $2 billion.
That's crazy. That is crazy. I've heard that it's got a great opening, a great ending, and then there's a teen drama in the middle for some reason, and everybody just goes into a coma.
Jennifer Lawrence plays the blue chick from X-Men. She comes back as, I forget her name, but she's just in it. Blue chick's in it.
Yeah, the center of the movie's got a certain mystique.
Yeah, very much. I was never into avatars or even that theory or the movie. I heard it's visually stunning, but dude, I don't want to invest into another franchise. I'll be honest, Game of Thrones last season, I still hurt from it. I'm not ready to invest.
I heard from The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi broke my soul so hard. I'm not even a fan of the old Star Wars anymore. I mean, I kind of am, but it's like I'm so mad, and still, like I remember. Oh, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
I'm a Star Trek fan, and it hurt me.
Oh man.
It hurt me. Like, even I was like, why would you do that to them? They were loyal fans. They didn't deserve it.
And then here comes Picard, and you're over here like, no.
I don't. You mean woke Picard?
Have you watched? I don't know. I don't know what you think.
Oh, dude, it's bad. It's bad.
Sorry, church ladies. That's a line.
They somehow, I believe, because I quit watching it. I think they shoehorn an INS, like an immigration type episode into it. Like, what's great about Star Trek, they kind of beat your head over it, but it was trying to cheesy and subtle. They were trying to do. Picard's like, we're woke. We're just slamming it over your head, and Picard looks old and frail.
Enterprise.
Oh, and then what I hate about this, you like Data? Well, here's Data. No, stop ruining my childhood.
Brent Spiner's like, I didn't even know I still had a career. Oh man,
I think Mike's still watching. Mike, shout out to Mike. I'll throw his name up there. He has a funny Brett Spiner story. He actually met him.
Oh wow!
At a comic convention and got a picture with him. Got to talk to him. He got the VIP pass, but he kept dropping lines from what was it? Master of Disguise. Because he's in it, and he was not pumped. He was like, so he kept going, like saying lines from the movie, and he just like, yeah, and walked, like cold shouldered him, and I was like, it's not that bad of a movie. I mean, come on.
Come on, Brent. Listen, all I remember him in is Star Trek: The Next Generation and Independence Day. Independence Day. He's good in Independence Day. I'll give him that. That's a funny character. The dreadlock scientist man. That was fun. Master of Disguise too.
Love it.
You're doing a Willow series. There could be it could be a Master of Disguise season. season of disguise. A whole episode on the turtle impression.
Now live on Apple Plus. Get an Apple Plus exclusive.
Automatically, because YouTube's going to do the music.
Yes. Like the old, yeah, YouTube. That's right. We've already put it on your computer and your hard drive. Just thank us later. It's free.
Yeah, it's there. It's how to dismantle an atomic bomb. Is that what it was? What was it? It was some stupid pretentious title. I can't remember.
Oh, I don't remember it. I was too busy deleting it off my shit. Like, what the?
Yeah, no, that was a bad move. They tried. They were trying to Pavlov us with that, but we're like, no, we ain't gonna eat that treat. You get that bell out of my face. That treat, I think a cat already ate it.
They still claim it was one of the #1 albums for that week too.
Well, they have to.
They manufactured it like.
Oh man.
Oh, cheesy. So that's what he probably did. All right, we'll get into business. All right, yeah, business is next. Home Depot's 93-year-old co-founder says nobody wants to work anymore because of socialism and donated $64 million to help me talk without a stutter and to elect Trump. So he went in further and said that's basically what it is. And basically saying no one wants to work for his company or really anywhere. And he blames this with current management, presidency, and just trends. This is who he is. And that's why he donated the way he did.
Well, I wish they just would not have put a picture of him up because, I mean, that picture, I mean, it's not a good picture. It's not.
Well, I'll throw it up. That's 93.
Well, okay.
That's pretty good at 93.
For 93, very good. Very
He's
good.
kicking ass. Like, dude,
I mean,
he probably tied his own tie. And he looks, those are probably his original teeth. He's probably kicking some major ass. I think this guy's
just him and Dick Van Dyke hanging out at the 90 Bucks Club, tap dancing and building shit.
Now, my question from a leftist, do you think that the value of work is the workers have finally realized that they're being so underappreciated by the companies that they're not even wasting their time? Or that this is kind of a symptom of all the free stuff we were giving during COVID. And now people are used to that and they don't really want to go back to work. Like it's almost the two sides of each coin. Like, what do you think about this whole situation of people not wanting to work? Because it's common. There's jobs everywhere. You get a job if you want it.
It is a very strange psychological phenomenon. There's quite a few different complex variables. This is about the thing we need to understand. It's not just the left. It's both sides of the fence have lost their minds. So now I must do what's that guy's name, that director, that crazy German director? I forgot his name.
Uwe Boll?
Huh? No, not Uwe Boll. That guy's great. It's the one. He's great in a bad way. He's like Neil Breen great. No, this guy good stuff. He did a documentary and he said, the birds, I don't think they sing. I think they cry out in pain. I can't remember his name now. So Norby or somebody might know. Anyway, I was doing the German thing. It is complex. Here's the issue. Oligarchical corporations, in conjunction with the government, are diminishing the value of the dollar and the capability of a normal wage that can be productive and produce a living to even be possible. And that goes all the way back to making it so women can vote and have taxes. Now, I know we want women to be equal, but what a lot of people don't realize is when all of a sudden you got taxation that is now spread to the other part of the population that didn't have it before, there becomes a demand for an increase in the workforce. And that demand facilitates a necessity for everybody to work harder than they did before, change the whole environment. So what we're dealing with is a confluence of events. It's not just the fact that we've been trying to be sold on the universal basic income idea, or that we were given that for a little bit, or given benefits and tax breaks and stimulus checks and all that stuff. That's contributing toward it. Being able to get paid to do nothing because of the lockdown, that is contributing toward it. But what's also happened, and this is where the socialists, they're wrong, but they are talking about something true. And that's that the environment we're in now is not as free as it once was. We're taxed over 25% of our paycheck. I mean, our founding fathers, they had a revolution for 2%. Now the socialists get their way. I mean, it's all gone. But we're taxed 25 to 33%. There's property taxes. The cost of living is going up. We're taxed from all different angles beyond just what we lose in our paycheck. And the middle class is being deliberately destroyed. The net result of that is we're becoming wage slaves while the corporations are becoming arms of the state. And that's actually fascist, which is when the state owns the corporations, basically. But what's getting weird is because of social media, the corporations are getting bigger than the state. And they're working together with and without the state to fix their own interests. And it's in their interest, actually, to have a new feudal state. Ironically, the socialists are doing the same thing. They're just switching the bureaucrat for what was previously royalty. So if you're part of the party, now you're the new royalty. So they're both actually not concerned about the plight of the little guy. They consider the little guy sort of like a cog in a machine. The IRS even, I believe it's the IRS, they value your life at $1 to $2 million. And you can do the math. You make 20 grand a year from the age of 18 for 50 years, that's $1 million. So if you make 40 grand a year for 50 years from the age of 18, that's $2 million. People make less than that. People make more than that. That's a pretty decent average given the distribution, the Pareto distribution, 20-80%. So what these corporations and governments do is they work systematically together to create a sort of wage slavery. But socialism won't actually make the problem go away. It'll actually just take away all competition and checks and balances and facilitate a total control, which is neo-feudalism. So the problem is they've identified a real issue, but their solution will make it worse.
So would you consider the hike minimum wage in Illinois going up to $15 kind of doing what you just said there? Like
what it's going to do is it's going to hurt.
They're eliminating the competition with the small businesses that can't do that. So they're funneling into the jobs where they can. And then you lower there's no middle class anymore. You either got two groups. You're either taking the jobs or giving the jobs.
Yeah, that's exactly what it'll do. It'll kill small business and it'll force big businesses to let certain jobs go. There's a reason McDonald's has a bunch of automated stores, and while Whole Foods is going that way, and Microsoft and Amazon, all the tech companies are funding automated systems of distribution, all that's happening deliberately. And what it'll do is it'll make it so the best you can do is, what's the equivalent of like what we're making now? I mean, you're probably doing better than me. I've been blessed with 30 to 40 grand a year, depending. And I don't have a family or dependents, so I can make that work pretty good. But that's going to be the top of any, unless you're in the elite. That'll probably actually be around twice what you can make, and it's going to keep going and getting inflated. Because what happens is when you do that, Tanstoffel, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. It's not necessarily that businesses want to shortchange the little guy when they have a lower minimum wage. It's that they're operating at what the market will sustain over the long term, so the business can continue to be profitable. And it would be nice if you could pay a gas station employee or a fast food worker or a waitress. It would be nice if you could pay them like $30, $40 an hour, but the business couldn't survive. So when you increase the wage, all you're doing is diminishing the value of the currency. Now, $15 used to buy a meal. Now $15 buys an appetizer. You see? So nothing really changes even. It just gets worse.
Because I'm not great with words, I've always thought ethics in business need to change for any of this to really work, because the business evolves on one thing only: profit.
Yeah.
And when it comes to humans, there needs to be a variable. It can't be just that. So when a business is just doing what a business is supposed to do, I feel like it loses people, regardless of whether the situation, if that makes sense.
It's an issue of scale. As it scales out and becomes more uncontrolled because you get more chiefs at the table, natural human corruption, what that does is, I believe, domino affects the negative things you're talking about. But but between maybe 100 and 1,000 employees in a business, that can be perfectly ethical and seek profit without undermining anything. Once you get to 20,000 employees, well, then you got 1,000 employees at the top, and 100 of them are bad eggs, and 100 of them that are bad eggs can do more harm than 900 that are good eggs, because 100 of them that are bad eggs are going to lie, they're going to cheat, they're going to steal, they're going to do stuff that takes 5 years to unravel, but they're going to get theirs and hit the eject button. And So that's what you see. What we're seeing with, I think, the whole global issue right now. The push toward a globalist state codified under a single body of leadership is the bad eggs taking control of the world. And there's two or three, I think it's at least two global factions that are pushing for this. You have the Western, which is, I think, the George Soros side of things. And then you have the Eastern, which is the Putin, China, India, Brazil side of things. And both of them are, I think there might be a third one, but I'm just not, I haven't looked into, I've heard whispers. Point being, what they're doing is they're trying to totally consolidate all control. And some of them use socialism as a means of consolidating that control. And the others use corporate wage slavery. And the two have their benefits and drawbacks to the leadership. With socialism, you've got authoritarianism at the end result. You have Marxism, socialism, communism, and then authoritarianism. And it's like a moth becoming a butterfly. And with the capitalist side of things, it doesn't get quite that bad, but you have abuse of other societies and siphoning of their resources. What I think the perfect balance would be is probably something you're not going to agree with. And I don't think it's something that's actually possible until there's a change in the state of the universe itself. I think what would actually work would be a theocracy with a literal, tangible deity, a real God at the head of it. And the way I see it, that doesn't happen until Christ himself comes back. So the way I see it, the world we're in is going to be, it's going to be bad or horrible, somewhere on the spectrum. And capitalism is less horrible, and socialism is more horrible. But they're both bad. Neither of them are good.
Okay, no, dude, I can't really disagree with that. I mean, you brought Jesus involved in his coming back. I can't disagree with that. I mean, I don't know what's better than that. I was here, but no, I agree. It's one of those things, I guess, when you put it that way. Capitalism has its faults, but when you throw it to the other stuff, you got to do that. And when we've been talking about people and all this, you got to do the best you can. I guess that works. So, yeah, it's 100% a complicated issue. But I think we did find common ground in some of the things like middle class separating. That's definitely.
And that old fella is right. People don't want to work, but it's for, I mean, there's some of them are just cheese weasels. Some of them are fed up. They've spent 20 years being shat upon. Some of them, they're doing it for political reasons. But it is going on right now. And so the silver lining here is those of us that do want to work, there is a law to the universe. You do reap what you sow. Those of us who do want to work, especially when others won't, I mean, that's planting a seed that will yield a crop in the fullness of time. So.
Makes sense. I guess it's privileged my son, like, because I get to stay at home. I was raised two-family working at a factory until their knees broke. Like, type growing up, two family, always working. So I was raised like, if you want something, you got to do it. So I've been homeless twice, but I've always got back on my feet. I'm not a smart guy. I've done bad things, but I knew once this guy told me to get kicked off the couch, I need to start doing stuff. So I'd find ways to level up. I consider it like Monopoly. You start out Baltic Avenue, and hopefully you get on that green or orange property on the other side of the board eventually. But I think that's around here. I have some of the problems with. I guess there's so much opportunity. I see a lot of people just not wanting to do it. Like I hate people are like they're sleeping on a park bench, but they don't want to go work at Hardee's. Like,
right.
Dude, the shame of working at Hardee's is nothing compared to fucking sleeping on a park, but you're going to be able to eat and pay for it's just the few things. Because I've actually been there. It sucks when people are like, no, I've been homeless. I have the records to prove it if you want, but like there's always ways where if you have a little bit, you can scramble and fight to get out there. Like, especially in the Midwest, I know in New York City it might be different. You might have to get that billboard sign out or something like that.
Well, it's weird in the bigger cities too, because there's a lifestyle community around the homelessness. That's one of the reasons San Francisco and Portland and LA and all these places, they protect them. Number one, there's a lifestyle around it. Here's another weird thing that's going on in these leftist communities. And it's not that they're the only ones that do it, but it's happening in Colorado and in California. The effort to fight homelessness reaps taxes. And so there's a disincentive to solve the problem. because if they solve homelessness, their department goes away and so do all their jobs. So in order for them to solve homelessness, they have to allow it to continue. So in Colorado, they had this 10-year plan to eliminate homelessness. 10 years by, they've got a bigger budget than ever. There's more homelessness than ever, and they're talking about their next 10-year plan. And there's some documentary about it. And in LA, it's similar. So outside of the guy sleeping on the park bench because he's just not motivated, the government wants him to do that. So they give him a needle. Because we're keeping it sanitary. We're keeping it sanitary. We're not enabling it. You see the logic?
Wow.
And then you have a drug subculture that knows, I get money from the government and needles to just get homeless and hang out in California where the weather's perfect. Even when it rains, it's not that cold.
You're going to get me started because dude, what happened to just the sure respect of being a drug addict? I grew up around them, and you didn't go, oh, I'm smoking my meth pipe outside. Oop, I fell on the thing. Like, no, I'm going to walk, and, is that my heroin needle? I'll just throw it in the leaf pile. I wasn't raised like that. I was raised around these people. They had respect, okay? Respect for others and the other people. Like, what happened to that? What happened to the thief code? You never steal from someone lower or equal than you. That's wrong. Now all we have is people stealing aluminum cans from each other to recycle. It's crazy.
I was in Eugene, Oregon in 2016. I was living in an RV at the time, and DCFS, yeah. And I got in a little fender bender, busted my windshield, and I was waiting at a glass shop to get it fixed, and I'd gotten a little sandwich at the gas station. And I had my window open, kind of like this one here, and I was eating my sandwich, and I see a guy scrounging in the bushes. He's homeless. I'm like, oh, man, I'll bet that guy's hungry. I got a few extra pounds. Like, hey, man, you want the last half of this sandwich? He says, nah, man. You got any speed? I said, no, I don't. He's like, how about any tin foil? I said, no, I've got some rolling papers. He's like, nah, man, I do speed. And then he skittered off. And that is almost 100% exactly what he said. That, as mentioned, I wrote it down in a journal because I couldn't believe it happened. Because, I mean, even if you do speed, you got to be hungry for a sandwich, man. He didn't want my sandwich. He wanted some speed. So
go ahead. Well, hey, at least he was up front. Yeah. I mean, he had the respect to you to tell you, like, nah, I just sell that sandwich for speed. He turned into that Jon Stewart character from Have you ever done it on speed?
Pretty much. So anyway, there's a drug subculture like that. In Eugene, you can't tell the hipster from the hobo. Like, you literally can't tell. Like, and they all bump. They're all. You come out of a bar, they're like seagulls wanting bread, but for cigarettes. They're like, gotta smoke. It's just like 20 of them. You come out of a bar, you just walk out. They're like, oh, this guy's got one.
What we got around here in my town is called free pantries, where they just put food in and stuff like that. So during the summer, I live next to a public library. We actually blessed to live into one of the historic houses in town. It's a brick house. It's very well done. We thought we were moving up to the Jeffersons. We're moving out of the trailer park, going up there. We moved here. It's the worst fucking neighborhood I've ever lived in my life. I've lived in every fucking trailer park, government housing from here all the way up to Decatur, Illinois, all Southern Illinois. This is still I remember staring across, and my son's like, hey, can we play? It's 8 o'clock at night, son. You're not going outside. Why? We know there's homeless over there. We could see them. I was like, yeah, I could see the 5 people here. Come over here. It's the other 5 in the shadows all around that I'm scared about. And the one over there shouting adjectives that make no sense in rapid order, that's one I'm terrified about.
You got hippie on the corner, then you got Lile Lalo Lou.
Oh, dude, we had needles. We had one time we were walking the dog, ambulance came to revive needle. Straight Pulp Fiction. She busts out of the thing. Nah, like she's in the back of the ambulance, gets the EpiPen or whatever. I think that's what it is. Comes back to life, slams open the door, walks right back to being homeless in the library. And it's just like, and I thought, we should do something other than giving them canned food, like, or maybe some. And it's complicated, but Here's what the city did. There was a lady waiting for the bus, and she was clearly cracked out. She was screaming obscenities like tinfoil, 7-Up cherry, just insane. I can't even reproduce it, how crazy it was. So the very next week, they got a bench for her. They just installed a bench.
You
So
said
now she doesn't have to sit on her luggage.
You said bench. I heard bitch. So the next week they got that woman a bitch.
Yeah, they did. She probably got her own little bitch to come around. You buy. But no.
Anyway, as you were saying.
No, it's to me, it's a slippery slope because I feel like you need to help, but you also can't help too much. Because if you help too much, because I'll be honest, if I was 21 and I got fed to do nothing to sit at the library and people fed me and I got to do my drugs or do whatever I wanted to, I'd never have to grow up.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's nuts.
If you go biblical on it, you don't work, you don't eat. So yeah, it does say help the widow and the orphan without any condition, but it seems to be that to fix the problem, those of us who can do something need to do it. Responsibility is only your ability to respond. I can't respond to something going on in North Korea, but you know what I can do? I can pick up a piece of litter or something, or I can maybe give a homeless guy a lawnmower for an afternoon and $10. That's what I can do. So we need to, as a society, take personal responsibility, and that's probably going to be the hardest part. B, we need to have discretion when social services are used. You can't have a bureaucratic one-size-fits-all algorithm. People are so diverse, they'll always slip between the cracks or always find a way to slip between the cracks. So we need a you don't work, you don't eat mentality, a way of determining if someone has the capability to actually provide for themselves in any capacity. And in that scenario, for them to get help, they need to put in some effort. Otherwise, they don't get help. And then only the people who literally cannot help themselves are the ones that the state needs to provide assistance for. And that's not what we're doing. What we do now is we've got this bureaucratic algorithm matrix that if you're black, gay, and homeless, you get $1,000 a month. In San Francisco, the trans movement, if you're trans in San Francisco, or it might be Palm Springs, it's one of those two. I'd have to Google it. But you get like $1,000 a month if you're trans. And then one of these places has needles. If you just say you're a homeless minority, then the state and what it is it's a form of it's livestock. We're the $1 million to $2 million. These people are being farmed because the politicians that run the programs that farm them get paid more and more to keep that program going. And that's a social program, which is leftist primarily. So that's the other issue is it's not altruistic. There's a profit motive. The homeless are human cattle.
Just to throw it out there, I don't really shout out, especially this thing, but it actually lends to what Kevin said a lot and makes a lot more sense. Vice did a documentary about the homeless problem in California and how companies are getting paid to clear out the homeless areas and they'll be re-up next week. And they're doing it. That's their job, just to clearing off this. And you have people who paid for their homes that can't even get out of their homes because there's a shanty town in the middle of the road. But they can't call the cops because they're not doing anything wrong. And that's where, as a leftist myself, that's where liberalism goes too far. When you let the rights of the other people impinge on your rights, that's not okay. You can't let someone be so free that you have to be freedomless, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There needs to be a balance. We definitely need to help people who can't help themselves, but people who can help themselves and are leeching. I mean, everybody knows what's going on. This isn't complicated. These people are abusing the system, and bureaucrats are trained to allow them to do it because the company that employs them is actually making money off of that, even though it's at the expense of the taxpayer. So it's really it's a downward spiral for everybody.
Oh yeah, I on 100%. I also want to throw out the culture that maybe I'd have to say I grew up with maybe in the late 2000s. Man, it's free money. Gotta take it when you can get it. It's free money. Nah, man, like it's not. Like just because I always just because they're giving away stuff, free food at the food pantry, if you're good, you don't need to go there and show up. They can give it to someone else, Hey, you had a rough week or something happens, get back on your feet. Maybe you don't need that blue card this month. You
What
don't
for the
need to
modern kids who really need that hot dog pack at the food pantry? And
right. If you want, like, I'm
know?
looking at it as a left, if you want to help out the other people, don't take money you don't need. That goes to more money that the other people do. Now, if other people started doing that nobleistic bullshit without posting it on social media and shit, then we'd probably be good. But I just think there's a lot. I've heard that a lot. I've moved to, well, it's free money. What are they going to do? Give it to someone else. I think we're okay. I don't need 85 sausage patties that are going to go out of date in 3 weeks. I'm not going to feed, this
But
or
there's a mom who does, and she's not
exactly.
in the system. Her husband died. She's a widow. She doesn't have any family. Let's see. If you feed the government, they become drones, and then when the government feels ready, they'll claim you because of all the free stuff. Yeah. Norbert's exactly right. It's like Land of the Walking Dead. Have you ever been by Skid Row in L.A.?
No, I've actually heard some friends have been there. They call it the concrete jungle.
It's a tourist destination. I mean, you'll have an experience. You can watch all the wildlife. You got your little scrappy old hobos, but then you got your young hobos, and they'll fight each other sometimes for territorial dominance. No, but for real, it's you go some of these places in the U.S. and you're near Detroit, you're near Illinois, you're near East St. Louis. You've seen some of the bad stuff. I mean, there's places in the U.S. that are like a third world country, and it's more because of corruption. These people become like drones. They're just, you'll have 20 or 30 people just milling around on a street corner looking for any angle they can, sexual or drug related, to scratch that itch that has become the dominating force, the god in their life. And the government keeps underwriting it like sheep or like ducks coming to the trough to feed. Oh, here come the needles.
What gets you still crawling the streets? He's talking about Skid Row. It's a terrible place. Skid Row's still crawling. I heard he loves fucking model trains though. Give it up for Sebastian Bach. I met one bum that ruined my whole life on bums because he was a professional bum.
A pro bum.
A pro bum. We talked. I was like, dude, what are you doing out here? This is how I make my living. Really? Like, what do you do? First of all, you all look like you're too well fed and do all this. You need to get dirty clothes on. Oh, my cousin is like, you have too many tattoos. No one's going to give any money to a tattoo guy. And went on to this whole thing about how he moves different areas during the day in the town, sets up different areas. He's like, I'll walk away with 30 fucking cheeseburgers and $150 today. And and we sat there. Eventually he's like, dude, you're fucking up my money, and told us to get the fuck away from him. So we went and, still watching him, people watching. He wasn't fucking lying. He made about $50 when we were just sitting there. He had 3 or 4 bags of McDonald's. Up north, they have some lot lizards that just roam around. The only reason they make me mad is they have a dog. You can't have a household pet without a house.
Yeah. Wait. By lot lizard, do you mean truck stop prostitute?
Yes.
Okay, with a dog. The dog's their protection.
No, that would make sense. But she's with her pimp / SoundCloud rapper who's there. He's just hitting on hard times between shifts at Applebee's. But no, he's sitting there holding the sign while she walks to the TA or whatever, in and out. Like, I was raised on truckers. I could see it. Like, my dad was a trucker. I was like, oh, there's no reason for a lady to be walking that long parking lot alone. She doesn't look like a trucker. And that guy's flashing his lights. 2 and 2 equal lot lizard. So
2 and 2 equals herpes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where politicians come from. But it's a sad state of affairs. There is a subculture. And that's the issue is ideological demoralization wreaks the sort of havoc we're seeing now. How familiar are you with Yuri Bezmenov?
Not at all. I don't even think I could say it.
Well, I would I would suggest if you get some free time, there's an 81-minute seminar. It's a bit long, but it's fascinating when you watch it. Yuri Bezmenov was in the KGB. and his job was to get Indian dudes drunk and sell them communism. And he was in propaganda, but he fell in love with the people of India and he didn't want to do it anymore. So he pretended to be a stoner looking Bob Marley hippie and fled to Canada. He defected to the West. He became Thomas Schumann, and he started doing news segments here and there. And it was Canada in the 70s and 80s, so nobody knew anything about it because him and like a moose were the only people up there.
Right.
Well, he did a interview with Edward G. Griffin of the John Birch Society in 1984, ironically, about how Soviet propaganda worked to destabilize a nation, imploding it toward a socialist state deliberately along a process of steps. And it's the process of active measures to facilitate ideological subversion, which leads to social unrest, allowing opportunistic third parties to come in and seize power. And that's basically what the Bolsheviks did. And it's what they've done. The Soviets have done this. And they were doing that in America till the Berlin Wall fell. And what they would do is they would put sleepers in positions of power in order to control culture as a means of imploding the society. And the sleepers were usually in conservative areas of power. They were rhinotypes. And what they would do is a rhinotype in a conservative area of power would float as, say, a Christian charity principle, a new tax for a social program to help the homeless, something like this, like what we're seeing. And the result would be you have a new department that leeches off the taxpayer and makes the problem worse. Active measures like that are actually used, at least in the 70s and 80s, by the Soviets. Now, the Soviet Union fell. But if they were making stay-behind networks like that, there's a very high possibility some of the goals that those networks had have been realized more than we'd like to see in the United States. And it's interesting because when you watch Yuri Bezmenov talk to Edward G. Griffin, you see what he's saying. You've seen it. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, I saw that happen. I just read an article about that thing. So it's really worth watching because what we're seeing, a lot of it's rooted in deliberate ideological subversion for the purposes of facilitating a socialist outcome.
Well, yeah, I could just the elections itself and how we've lost faith in that and
Oh,
how
yeah.
disruptive that's gotten. That can lead credence to there. So yeah, no, I'll definitely watch that for sure. We'll get into we were having a great time, but I know Kevin really wanted to talk about this, and I want to reach this before we end the show because it was kind of like a big deal. We got to hit politics. We've been hitting it all day, but this is Kevin McCaffrey falls short in 3 votes to be the next House Speaker. This is actually a unprecedented thing. It's the first time it's ever happened, if I read correctly, right? Like first time it ever happened, which I kind of like. This all like I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm super educated and everything, but the House always just seems like a pissing match. Whoever gets it anyway. So the party's like, look, we're in charge, and I'll throw my dick on the table. So it's nice that it seems like it's not everyone was thinking for themselves a little bit. Quite a few Republicans said, "Hey, I'm not down with this guy."
Yeah.
And I respect the fuck out of that.
I don't think the Democrats wanted him. I don't think the Republicans wanted him.
They did not. No one did.
For once, we had a win. It might be the most bipartisan win we've seen in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know what? True. It's very rare that they come together and agree on something.
Of course, I don't know who they want to get in. I'd rather have a conservative as the Speaker of the House. But McCarthy, the thing about him is he's a Pence. He's a McConnell. He's a Swamp Thing. How's that wild thing go? Swamp Thing, you make my heart sing. You make everything bougie. Swamp Thing, I think I loathe
you. I like that.
Sure. Why don't you go ahead and steal my rights? I loathe you. Swamp Thing. Anyway, that's not how that song even goes.
Correct me. Like they only the Speaker of the House, do they come in if ties happen or anything like that?
Yeah, something like that. I should know better. I've read stuff on it. Off the top of my head, I know that they're third in line after the vice president to be president.
You know, were you in history class when they were teaching that or government? And you're just like, that ain't happening. Who like that's gotta suck. Like
Yeah.
your contingency plan is the house is just stay put. Like everyone else has got special fucking bunkers everywhere. You just stay here and watch the flood from your little tower you got here.
That's true. Yeah, it's that ain't, like you said, that ain't happening. I mean, it's just but now, woof, we are in strange days, like that Moby song.
Could
Strange
this
I
could
don't know.
this with all this conflict happening, I've always thought the Green Party just must be loons and that just can't carry the ball because this is a perfect last 8 years to gain some traction for another voice. But I think could this be a possible way? Maybe Republicans fracture and we get the third party, like somehow they split. Democrats are always kind of when we get the majority, we lose it immediately. We don't know how we can play defense, but offense we suck ass at. Like it's just in terms of going with this analogy. Would this be a good prelude to maybe a three-party system, or is that just never going to happen?
I don't know, but I'm tired of this political unibrow we got in Washington. We need to shave down the middle, and maybe here and maybe here. You know, if we had 4 eyebrows, it'd be better than a unibrow. I mean, 2's more better than 4 because it looks more aesthetically pleasing. Let's put it that way. But you know what? If they're both bad eyebrows, you can trim them down. You know what? You could even shave one off and put some makeup there and see if the isometric shenanigans suited you. Because, baby, right now you are ugly with that unibrow. We need to wax that thing and fix it. I'm with you. I don't like the uniparty.
Yeah, I like if Congress was a set of eyebrows, it'd be like the weird eyebrows from the original Dune. One of those characters like out there, like, oh, I don't even remember that character's name, but he smells.
Well, his name was Toofer Howard, and he was a man cat. I know about Space Lord of the Rings.
Oh man, don't say it too loud. They'll make sure to ruin that for us too. Like,
oh well, they did all right. What's the guy who did the new Blade Runner and the new Dune? He's not bad. Dennis Villeneuve or Villeneuve or DV. He ain't bad. He ain't bad.
Do you ever watch the made-for-TV Dune for sci-fi back in the 90s?
Yeah, it's got William Hurt in it. I seen
it. No one hurts when William Hurt's around. He just makes you love.
That's right. I seen it. They had that big old fat Baron Harkonnen. They made his head the size of the planet. It was more to the book than the David Lynch one. But I've always been more entertained by the David Lynch one because it's so weird.
Well, it has Sting. More Sting. It's gonna be great. I was talking how I love Dune, at a relative's house. It's my granddad's house. He's like, "Oh, really?" And all of a sudden he blows like a VHS series. He's like, "I got Dune on Sci-Fi. You want to watch it?" I didn't know it was 6 hours long. Longest Saturday of my life. We just binged it. Minimal pee breaks. Like it was decent.
It's not bad. It's not. It's better than you expect. It's not as good as it should have been, but it's better than you expect.
The golden age of sci-fi TV.
Yep.
Let's see what I got. Pelosi talk. I don't know Pelosi, but we should get both.
What's Bose's first name?
I'm sorry?
What's the first name of Bose?
I do not know. I'd have to look it up.
I think I might agree with him. I'm not sure. There's like 4 alternatives. Jim Jordan doesn't want it, so he's out. So it's McCarthy, the Hakeem something or other, and I think Bose. I think Bose is probably a good choice. Stereo speaker. All right. Well.
I appreciate you coming in. We're going to have Michael as like an admin later. Hey, I appreciate coming in for our first show so far. Kevin, you got anything you want to throw out there or final words or thoughts?
I might be doing a show at the Grand Gateway Hotel in Rapid City the weekend of the 2nd and 3rd in February. And I've got a show at the Grand Opera House in Lead in September. A fellow named Alan Brownwell's opening for me. We'll have some fun with that. And outside of that, my album is I'm From Wyoming, obviously, by French Accent. It's an adult album, so, anybody who listens, be advised. And I got a bunch of music under my name on YouTube under music by Kevin Bennett, I think, or something. It's a playlist. And also on Spotify, I've got like 20, 30 songs on there. Download a song, listen to it. It's weird. I hope it's not
I've heard some
It
of
might
it.
be.
I'm not even going to begin to put it in a genre, but I liked it. It's unique to say.
Oh, you listen to it.
Yeah, you put it out there. I almost want to say, this is not to categorize it. It gave me like a vaporwave vibe, like electronic vibe,
Okay.
but deeper. I don't know. I'm bad with adjectives. I'm 2 hours into a podcast, but I definitely highly recommend it out there.
Well, I don't know what I'd even call it. It's just me and a keyboard with some computer stuff, and I'm just trying to make something I think sounds good. And that's what comes out. You know, if I had a studio, I could probably do some better stuff. But I figure, well, if I can't do anything without a studio, with a studio, I'm just I'm polishing that turd. So some of it turns out all right. So anyway, thank you for checking that out.
Hey, no problem. I got to act. I followed you on social media. Man, look at me, fanboy. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. But nah, Kevin, you got to check it out. Actually, after this show, I'll get the links from Kevin. I'll put it down in the comments below so you can check that out. If you want to see me live, I'll be at the Kiss Bar and Grill, Springfield, Missouri. $5 get you in. $5 holler, 8 p.m. The Good Old Boys of Comedy. My final performance for this year locally will be in Salem, Illinois, the ABC Pub. That's February 3rd. It'll be free, so please check that out. And if you like what we're doing here, please share, like, comment. All that superficial shit actually helps us out quite a bit. Lets us know we're entertaining you the right ways. So I appreciate it. Till next week, I think that's it. Kevin, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Loss. I enjoyed it very much. We had a good time, and we're going to rock it next week, too. So all y'all who watch, like, share, and subscribe. Can we do that? Can we do that? What do we?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, do that.
We're on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. So wherever you see this pop up, hit that like, share, and subscribe. It'll help us out a lot, especially in the reels or whatever. If you just like what we're doing here, we love the support. If you don't, then shut the fuck up. That's how social media works.
Like anyway.
Till next time, take it easy, guys.